So, welcome to the next episode of Send Help. I'm
Okay, got off in the middle of it. You got to do it again.
Just please stop it then and start again.
Right, I can cut this out. Go.
Hi, welcome to the next episode of Send Help. I'm Sharon, and
I'm Nate.
then today we've got Maddie who's with us, and we're going to be talking about education healthcare plans. So, Maddie came to Send Help not that long ago, really, and we've been chatting and talking about the difficulties trying to get a needs assessment for an education healthcare plan, the resistance that's come up from schools or actually from the nursery. It's just been a really, really tough journey for Maddie, and I don't really know how she's done it, but we've sort of worked together and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So that's sort of what we wanted to talk about, really. So, Maddie, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your situation?
I'm Maddie. I have 3 children and my middle child is 5 years old and she has complex special needs, including a developmental delay, sensory processing disorder, high functioning autism, and she has hearing problems with reoccurring ear infections. So as I'm sure people watching this can understand, it's very difficult at home for us with Aria and she needs a lot of support from different services. I originally had to come to Nate and Sharon for a bit of advice because she started placement last year in September for her nursery and reception years. Unfortunately, they could not meet need from the off, and she had to be reduced to just an hour a day. So that is what she's been doing for the last 12 months. And as I'm sure people can understand, it's been a tricky period of needing an EHCP, needing a formal diagnosis. You can't get one thing without another, and you feel like you're going round in an endless loop. And I didn't really know where to turn, so I turned to SENDhelp.
It's been really, really tough for you, hasn't it? I mean, and looking at your journey, you know, we used to talk and it is infuriating because just hearing, I think the school were getting you to sign something, weren't they, each week to say...
Yeah, originally for about the first 6-7 months of her attending there, they said that they could only meet need for an hour, so she could only attend for 1 hour a day. And until we had an EHCP, once an EHCP was put in place, I was promised that things would be different and funding would be available and life would be made a bit easier. But these processes are extremely difficult. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, collect a lot of data from a lot of different people. And with Aria having OTs and SALT and various different people involved with her, I then had to go and get paperwork from all of those people. So collecting all of that and sending it off took time. While she was there, I didn't get a lot of support with anything, and nothing was really explained to me clearly. As Sharon's just mentioned, I was told to sign a piece of paper. I had it explained to me that if I didn't sign it, Aria wouldn't be able to attend at all. My daughter would only be able to do an hour a day, and this piece of paper was me signing for that hour a day. So I'd been signing it for a while. I'd read through it the first time, and then after that, they just sort of brought it out in the morning when I dropped the children off at school. Maddie, can you sign this, please? So I'd sign it on the reception desk, thinking it was exactly the same as last time, and I would carry on. And then as Aria became more settled and she was more comfortable in the establishment, when she'd been going for a few months, there was a couple of times where she wasn't finished playing and didn't want to come home after her allocated hour. So I asked if her time could be increased by half an hour to start with. And then I said that we would look at that going forward. But all I asked for initially was an additional half an hour. And I was told no and asked to keep signing this paper. And then it was you, Sharon, when we talked about it, that asked me what it actually said. So the next time I read through it all and I said to them, can I take this with me? So they were a little bit reluctant, but I was allowed to take it and I read through it all. And then I started asking questions like, why can't she attend for an extra half an hour? And what happens if I don't sign this piece of paper? At which point I also found out that it was supposed to be being reviewed every 6 weeks when they were reviewing it every 12. So I was signing for 12 weeks at a time for Aria to just be doing an hour a day, whilst telling them that I didn't agree that she should be doing an hour a day, that she needs more for her development, for her to burn off her energy, for her social skills, for everything. It makes such a massive difference when she has more things to do in the day. It helps with her sleeping, and then that means that she needs less melatonin, and it all has a positive impact. But even explaining all of this, I was met with massive resistance, being told there's not the staffing, there's not the funding, these things just aren't available to help her.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's been really, really hard for you. And you've got other children. You know, you're walking your children to school. I just think it's awful. And we've both said this from the get-go, that schools aren't working, or nurseries, they're not working with us. They're not working. They're making decisions. They're making judgments. They're not always lawful.
No. And they're not always nice or respectful, considering they see parents at their worst turn up in the morning explaining, oh, we've had 3 hours sleep, she might be in a little bit of a bad mood today. And there's no consideration. They're always like, oh, that must be really tough. But then you're 5 late or 2 minutes late for collection. And they're like, oh, well, you were late. Why are you late? There was a specific day where my son had sports day. And whilst we were at his sports day, we stayed at 9 o'clock after dropping both the children off. And whilst we were there at his sports day, the teacher came out and said that we would be able to take him with us at the end of sports day if we wanted to. About 9:30, we was allowed to leave with the children. My daughter finished, she was going between 9 and 10 at the time, so she didn't finish until 10 o'clock. So come about 35 minutes past when we was able to pick my son up, it meant waiting around at the school for 20 minutes. So we walked up to the shop up the road, ended up stuck in a queue, and I ended up 6 minutes late for collection. As I got into the car park, the safeguarding lead of the school was there, and she approached me and was like, reception was just about to phone you. I said, oh, sorry, Zach was bored. My son was bored waiting, so we just walked up to the shop. Oh, I'm sorry, I am late. And she actually physically started tapping her wrist, like where your watch is, going like, what time do you call there? And I was 6 minutes late that day. And if I was 2 minutes late in the morning, they would moan. And considering I have a daughter with special needs who they understand that can become dysregulated at any point, and my son is potty training, so a couple of mornings we've gone to go out the door and I need the toilet, so then you have to stop, go back in. And these kind of things do make you a little bit late. Putting my daughter's shoes on 10 times and socks back on before we actually leave the house. This is tricky, and they struggle with these things with her at the schools. They must understand that me at home on my own 90% of the time with the children, that it is tough, but I wasn't met with any kind of niceties or any kind of respect. I was met with hostility and judgment every time.
The problem is, the way I see it, is there's almost like a war going on between parents and teachers, when it's the right, but it's not helping anybody, if that makes sense. The government's making a decision,
Well,
and our parents and adults are fighting over it, when realistically, but it's because they've caused carnage. So you go in there, you think that they can have time to do this. They're resistant to parents, because in their eyes, parents are the ones always giving them hell. So it's just a chain reaction of misunderstanding through the school and the adult part of what actually is needed, what they can do to be better. And instead of seeing it as a problem, each person sees each other as a problem, which is a problem. So, like, you're not going to go to school think they're doing a good job. The teachers think you're not doing.
But the thing is, at the centre of this is a child.
Yeah.
So, and this is where
it should be centred around the child and what's best for the child. I've been more than willing to bend and work with the school, and I've offered to support on specialist events like sports day and a whole school trip. I offered to go on the school trip and be a part of it to support my daughter personally, and I was still told that no, it didn't meet the health and safety regulations, and she was excluded from a whole school trip because of her condition.
And the sports day, wasn't it, Maddie? There was the thing about the sports day.
Yeah, it was math. about sports day. It was only at the last minute I was told that I would be able to attend with her, but all the way up, she was completely left out. There was no provisions put on for her. Nobody mentioned her sports day, her attending. I had to ask. I was told initially no, even if I supported no. And then once I pushed a bit harder, I was told that I could attend with her. But I really had to fight them in order. And then, like Nate just said, it does become like personal. They feel like you're going against them personally, and you're not. It's not a personal attack on any people. It's not a personal attack on the establishment. It's just these places are falling short on our children's needs, and it needs addressing, and something needs doing.
Yeah, the problem is, as Sharon kind of said, it's all well and good name about that, but at the end of the day, the kid's suffering.
Yeah.
So the whole time this is going forward and back and forth and that, the kid's not getting a place and the kid's not doing this. So the override factor should be the child, and that's not the case, is it? It's about, and it's almost like some schools get nervous. There's almost different agendas to it, isn't it? I will say your example is one of the worst examples I've seen of just absolute flat right, just doing everything wrong.
Discrimination, it is.
So sometimes they're a bit, it's a bit, you can see if they've got a lot of special needs schools, whatever, but this one, I will say.
Yeah, and I've tried to be understanding with them. I get they can't meet her need. I understand they are not set up for her needs. But at the end of the day, help me find somewhere that is. Don't just fight against me and leave me out here on my own. I looked for them at the beginning to lead me, because this is the first time I've ever had to approach an EHCP and ever had to deal with this. And it's a complete minefield out here as a parent. Nobody sits you down and explains any of this. You have to research and find things out online. And thankfully, there's people like you, because it is really tough for people out there. And it's hard to find all this hidden information. So I let the school lead me, because I believed that they had my daughter's best interests at heart. And then I found out that I was actually being led in their best interests. And then when I did put my foot down myself, that's when I was met with hostility, and I was met with judgment and things like the wrist tapping and the attitude in the morning that really isn't helpful when I'm just trying to get her a basic education. She's due to start year 1 in September. She's of age to start, so she's due to start full-time year 1 in September. And as you know, Sharon, just towards the end of term, 3 days towards the end of term, I was told by the head teacher and other SEND team members that I was not to bring my daughter back after September, that they could not meet her needs. There wasn't a staffing level, and that was a direct quote. They didn't have the staffing level, and it would mess up their staffing for her to return, to which point I was told by our EHCP lead at the local authority that this is incorrect and this can't be done. And I had to contact several other people. This is 3 days before the end of term. The school shut, and I still didn't know whether or not she was returning in September, because they just point blank told me, don't bring her back. We can't meet her need and we don't want her here.
It's just awful, isn't it? And because, something that I'll pick up on, and it's, something that Nate and I feel quite strongly about, and when we've been talking to schools, is that education isn't always set up inclusively. So, and I do understand how difficult it is. So maybe I'm thinking more, in mainstream schools where you've got one teacher with 30 children, who some of which have got dyslexia, some of which have got ADHD, some have got ASD. You've got your high achievers, you've got your low achievers, you've got your middle of the road, and one teacher has got to accommodate and be able to differentiate work for all of those children. So what we really want to do is be able to support schools to be able to create their environment and their teaching so that it's inclusive, because it doesn't need to be all separate. It's about looking at a curriculum, looking at your workspace, looking at your classroom environment, looking at how you can make it inclusive so that it's not this massive, teachers don't feel it's this massive burden or this massive hurdle that somehow they just can't do it. Actually, if they'd have been a bit more, and Maddie, you come across really well. And from the day I spoke to you, you're able to explain what you're going through. You're, really pushing, but you did it. You remember when I said we need to play nice at first? Because we were sort of, the end goal was to get Aria more time in reception. So we wanted to go in at it, let's do it in a nice way, let's do it together. But they just didn't really want to do that, did they?
No, they were very blunt with the fact that they just didn't want to support her. The incidents where she joined in with reception class in PE and she had an incredible morning and she played really well with the other children. And when I actually went to pick her up, she got dysregulated then because she hadn't finished playing and she didn't want to come home. And I mentioned that at the school when they said to me, oh, we can't up her time because she gets dysregulated at the end of her hour, because this was the main reason all the way through. That was one of the things they would say, that she would become dysregulated even though she has absolutely no concept of time and can do an activity one day for 5 minutes and do the activity next day for an hour. So when she didn't want to come home at the end of PE and I brought that up and said, oh, well, there was a day where she got dysregulated because she didn't want to come home, she hasn't been included in PE since, and she's not been able to join in even when they've had the tunnels and the tents out again, because it was every time I bring strength from my case, they'd take it from her and it felt like she was being punished because I was.
Absolutely.
And it's
Do you know what
hard as a parent, not emotional, not to feel like it's a personal attack. I've had to tell myself many times it's not personal. It could be anybody in my situation. It is just because they can't meet need. But when you have teachers out there wrist tapping and behave, it feels like
personal.
It feels
because
like
it's about our safety and kids, isn't it? It's still personal. Yeah. It's always going to be personal because it's targeting against us. So it might not be specific to you as a person, but to our kids and to our what we're going through, it's targeted, and it is again an attack against us.
Pieces, and when you hear somebody say, "Oh, we don't want them," it's heartbreaking.
Do you know what? And what I will say as well, it's almost unbelievable that the teaching staff that you're talking about, even without training, even without experience, cannot put themselves in your little girl's position and think, how would I feel if I was having this lovely day and I was having this really nice time and I was being removed whilst everybody else is still playing and everybody else. Well, I don't even get that you would need training to have that basic understanding of how Aria would be processing that. And also, like you just said, you're the baddie. And that's not fair because you're the one taking, you're the one taking her in her eyes, removing her. And I don't want to make you feel bad because I know that you know this. But I mean, my compassion as a teacher in that situation, I would be able to see that that's why she's becoming dysregulated, because she's having a really fun time. Everybody else is staying, and she's got a different way that she learns and that she processes things anyway. So add the quite basic thing of just being removed from an activity. I mean, it's shocking.
From your professional opinion of you as a head teacher, why is this happening? Not specific to Maddie's situation, because I said it's quite bad.
Question, isn't it?
Why would you, on general, because it's a lot of it, not as it's targeted and horrible, but what is the issue that you find as a professional being in that field?
But I'm going to say something that probably, I don't know if you'll, the thing that I don't get, so even if it's to do with funding, the way that Maddie's being treated is not okay. The way that Aria is being treated is not okay. No, but I'm just saying, somebody doing this, it doesn't matter whether they could have all the funding in the world. Is this person still going to be?
I know Maddie's situation. I said that part of Maddie's situation, because Maddie's is definitely discrimination. I talk about in general because a lot of parents will go out there and they're going to have not as bad, as said, not as targeted, but they're going to have the resistance to the EHCPs. They're going to have the comments here and there. Why is that?
Right. So something that we've said before is we trust professionals. We think because somebody's a teacher, because somebody's a social worker, because somebody's, Senko, and this isn't me dissing anybody, we believe what they say. Well, it's not always right. They don't always have the experience, perhaps around education healthcare plans, around special educational needs and disability. It's not their fault. I have an issue with people's character if they're treating people disrespectfully, which is what I'm sort of saying about the tapping, that does all the training in the world, come on. And this is why at the beginning, wasn't it, Maddie? We said, no, let's make sure we play nice, because it might be that they really don't have the information. They don't have the understanding. However, in other situations, I would also say that Senkos are probably quite overwhelmed in schools. I would say their inboxes are full. And I've said this before, I really don't want to believe that anybody goes into working with children because they want to do a bad job. They go in because they want to nurture and they want to
Well, you
inspire.
put yourself forward for
And
things.
they want, but then I suppose when you get in it and you're bombarded, and again, like you said, sometimes I've done a video on it about meetings. Sometimes we come across, when it's passion, it comes across as anger, or it comes across, and we're emotional because we're talking about our child, and we know they haven't slept, and we see them in their rooms crying or banging their heads or whatever they're doing, and then they go into school and mask, and they all think, "Oh, look, no, where's all these problems coming from?" And we get we're so led by our passion and our feelings and our love that it doesn't always come across right, which then as a professional, your guards go up, your barriers go up. So it's really about trying to work together.
Knowing the statistics that you know about how many people are in a class of 30 now, do you think EHCPs that method is working?
It's not working, is it?
But if you're going to...
That's just my opinion. It's not working.
It's way too wide. In healthcare, everything is met with a triage period, A&E, it's triage. You look and you assess, and then you forward people to the correct departments. You move them on to different places that can support their needs. There's none of that for special needs, for mental health. There's no triage. Everybody with ASD, from very low functioning ASD to very high functioning ASD, like my daughter, we are all grouped together on the same spectrum, all waiting for the same services. In lists 12, 18 months long. People can't get funding. People can't get any kind of help. You're told, no, you can't get this support unless you've got the disabled children's team. You can't get that support unless you've got a diagnosis. You can't have this without an EHCP. And even though you go and get all them things, you're still told no. You're waiting because everybody is waiting for the same. There needs to be triage. This needs to be met the same as any other medical problems. These need to be assessed in a way where we can say, right, it's low functioning. These are the pathways that you can follow, and then you forward them to them. Then people that are high functioning that do need EHCPs, only those people are considered for that. And that goes forward. But this needs to be assessed before any of these things can be put into place, because it's just too wide.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before, and without getting too controversial, I feel like you're exactly right in what you're saying. There is no differential, and we need to differentiate, which means we need to take the severe cases and the high function and the non-verbals, and they get first priority. And I'm sorry if that's going to offend some kids out there that think that their kids deserve their rights and stuff like that, but they don't. At the end of the day, there's a severity rate. As you said, you don't treat cancer the same depending on the level or stage you're at. To see it like that, if you want to have a functioning society and community, you need to allow these people that have low level autism and ADHD into a mainstream school and get the mainstream school to understand it and then understand the rules. You need so basically my ideal idea would be to tell the parents to man up a bit that have low functioning, and the ones that are high functioning hyper fight for the cases. Because as you said, you're getting people that have just got a little bit that's not even really affecting it, but the parents thinks they guaranteed they need to get everything because they've got autism. The same as Maddie's kids.
That shouldn't be down to the parents, because as a parent, you're just going to clash your child with those conditions. You're not going to see it that way. So it needs to be assessed by the services. Like, people can't be waiting for all the same services. There need to be different pathways available. There needs to be a pathway available for high functioning and then a pathway available for low functioning. So I agree with everything you said, Nate, but it shouldn't be a fight out here between people. People should be signposted to the correct services.
Correct. Yeah. Because do you know what as well? What we've also got is you've got, I've done some work. So obviously now no longer working in schools, but I do some educational support, and it shouldn't be just for those that can afford it. I have a real issue with that as well. So, because again, the child isn't at the centre of this. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to pay things. Of course you should be able to. But I've had times in my life where I couldn't afford things, and and I still do have moments. Because I'm so up and down and not very consistent. But yeah, it shouldn't just be available to those that are articulate, to those that have got the income, because, as we know with autism, ADHD, chromosomal things, they run in families. So quite often as a parent, if you've got ADHD or autism yourself, you're going to find that difficult. You might be overwhelmed just going into a meeting. You might, and that's not okay, because like you've said, there should be the pathways so that it's an equal footing once you've been assessed as to how you're going to get the support, because an EHCP doesn't solve it. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you, just hit it. Because that's the thing, isn't it? We all hold out for this thing that we think is like magic.
That's supposed to fix all your problems.
And it does.
And when mine come, it was very basic. We had to spend time, and then I had to spend time with my EHCP lead to put extra things in, because me and you discussed it, didn't we? It could have been about any child. It just said...
I was dumbfounded when I read it.
Yeah, she has she has problems with sensory things. There was nothing specific. She's a seeker. She's a sensory seeker. She has a sensory processing disorder. And it didn't even say that in there. It wasn't specific. It just said sensory issues. And it was that all throughout EHCP. And I'm lucky because I have ended up with a fantastic caseworker for my EHCP. And she has been brilliant when I've messaged her, getting back to me and going through things. I can't thank the lady enough. She has been really amazing. And all I did after speaking to you is give her a message. Then she gave me a call.
Which is great.
And I said to her, let me tell you a few things about my daughter, and then you tell me whether or not they need to be on there. And 90% of what I said was added on there. And I found out yesterday when I viewed her potential specialist school that went a long way, because the man that I met there in charge of early years, who was an incredible person himself, he had sat there and actually read through her EHCP. He was telling me things about her, and he said, I could see that it was quite basic, and then there's bits been added on. Did you do that? And I said, yeah, we went through and added them on. And he said, well, they're the things that were helpful, because they're the things that are unique, which tell you...
Did you mention us, Maddie?
I always mention you. Even people on the train. I had people on the train. I was talking to a woman. I was like, join SENDhelp. She had a grandson the same age, similar conditions. Her daughter was struggling. She was dropping him home, and I've sent her. She's on there somewhere. She's on SENDhelp.
Brilliant. Do you know what it is, Maddie? Isn't it? Right from the beginning, the first time we spoke, it was just being able to speak to somebody about it and just get a bit of a, like you were saying about a pathway, just knowing what you needed to do.
Yeah.
And contact, because, you're really capable, but it's so overwhelming.
There's no information there. There's no place, there's nowhere for someone to go where it's just guided out, right, this is what needs to be done. I believe EHCPs could work, but I think they should be more for low functioning and ADHD. I think it works for things like that. I have a daughter with ADHD. She's 12. So I think that those kind of things are helpful for her in school, having a plan so she can attend the hub and not attend all of her lessons every time, so it's not overwhelming. I think those kind of things are important, but does that work for my youngest daughter who has ASD and all the other conditions? No, it doesn't, because it doesn't offer her anything. It doesn't really offer a lot. The funding and the transport is all that really matters. 90% of this, I found personally, comes down to money and funding.
Yeah, definitely. And
fear, I think. Especially if you get schools that are very backwards and very old school, their teachers, and they can't, you attack anything you don't fear, don't you? So if the teacher don't believe in it, you'll be lost. And there is schools out there that teachers are like that, and you've got the few odd ones in there, like kind of saying, "Oh, come on, like this is the new generation of the teachers coming through." But there's still schools out there that will literally say that ADHD is just for naughty kids and stuff like that. So you're fighting fear, or a lot of people in the schools as well that don't know what to do, so they won't take the extra hour to have her in case something goes wrong, and then they're liable for it. So they're not going to do, like, there's a lot of, again,
the thing like you just said though, that makes me mad, because having only been diagnosed with ADHD last year, I know how my life has looked. I know what the mental health struggles that I have had, not outwardly, perhaps, well, no, they have been outwardly as well, but you wouldn't know, because we've said this, how we present on the outside. If you present as confident, and we're bright and we're articulate, but it doesn't, and there are great qualities around having ADHD, being creative, being able to, do all these different things. Maybe I don't need to have had as many jobs as I've had or careers, but it's because you get bored, you do something else.
Yeah.
Shush. But there's also I call it a dark side, because there's the procrastination, there's the overthinking, there's the negative, the negativity that goes on inside your head about yourself. And when we've recently spoke to somebody a healthcare professional, she's a grown-ass woman, and the psychiatrist was pretty much asking if they'd watched too much TikTok and just thought they had, were neuro. And it's like, are you joking? Is that where we're going to now, where actually we're so misunderstood? But I get it's quite new. So I'm going to. No, but it's new as in on social media.
This what gets me as well, that everyone says ADHD is new. It's not. I've been suffering with it for ages since I've been 11, and a lot of guys have been. Yeah, I know, but
I just thought there was something wrong.
Look what the help and support you got. Look at all the awareness you got. Straight off the bat, you can see it was. I didn't get a book. What did I get? At 11, after getting ADHD diagnosis. No one got told nothing, but you're naughty.
I think you need therapy.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm saying that the awareness is good, but again, that causes its own, because it happened so quickly. It didn't happen steadily.
Yeah.
It's happened to the point where people jump over, and that's what happened. There was nothing, and all of a sudden everyone's got ADHD, and then you can't tell the point. Everyone's like, oh, it's all I hear about now.
Yeah. No, we do. So we get it, but it's about, I think, with schoolings, how amazing.
They need to change.
Well, it's quite.
It's very old fashioned. That sit down writing. Look at the job we do now. We don't even fucking write half the time.
We don't even write.
Why are you sitting there spending most of the kids' lives teaching them how to write properly when there's no life skills in there? There's nothing in there to do with finances outside of the maths. There's nothing.
Well, in our schools, life skills, how to fill in a form, how to go online and fill in a form, everything these days. You can't get anything without a form, a doctor, an appointment, anything. You have to go online and fill in these forms. But they're not online. Do this.
Being able to access things online.
At the school, they're very analog still. You go to school, you do writing and drawing. You're not on a computer on a tablet, because if you don't like that, you're on a computer and tablet the rest of your life. You're not teaching them the skills that's actually in their life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of these people going to school now have been on a tablet since free, are going to go to school, getting that taken away, taught all these other unnecessary skills, go back for a job that's going to be on a tablet. Well, they could be learning coding, they could be learning how to do this, they could be learning that. Like, it's such a waste of time.
So it feeds into like interests around, some young people with ADHD or autism, where their skills are more practical. They are creative.
I've found personally, since looking around I've looked around now 3 different schools, special schools for a wide range of different. The first one I looked around was MCSH, so ADHD, mental health, and autism. And they were a fantastic establishment, and they based a lot of their learning on life skills. And the 2 other establishments that I viewed, schools specifically just for children with ASD, they do a lot of outside learning, and these are incredible places that are out there that I had absolutely no idea. One of them was practically on my doorstep, and I had absolutely no idea it even existed. And these places are incredible, and all they tell you when you look around is it's life skills. We're teaching them life skills. They're going to learn how to do this, and they're going to learn how to do that. And I couldn't help thinking, why are we not doing this in mainstream school?
Because for some reason they think they lose control of the class.
Action
It's all about discipline. It's all about not going it and being controlled.
Well, it's also about the curriculum.
So and again, this is a weird thing. But you could literally put up a school, and there's nothing stopping you setting up a school like a forest school, like that thing, and it including everyone, because no kid in there is going to go, I'd rather sit by a desk, thank you. Every single one of them is going to learn the same. So why are you excluding the kids in the school when you could just open up a school to be a learning style like that, and then everyone's included? You won't have to worry about ADHD or autism in a certain.
Fantastic, because I don't understand why it's not set up more like that. Because the classrooms were bigger, there was less students. I understand, like, we haven't got the buildings, but some of these schools that we have, these mainstream schools, are massive. You could turn them into incredible places for children to learn, where children actually want to go. And maybe we would be met with, because I know you go through the same thing as me most mornings, Nate, and we would be met with a different attitude to learning from our children, rather than, I don't want to go to school, I don't want to get out of bed, becoming dysregulated, becoming upset, because it would be somewhere they enjoy. Driving theory, I understand it's money, but I don't see why driving theory isn't taught in secondary schools, in bigger schools. I don't understand why in 10 and 11 you don't do driving theory, or at least start practicing it. Cooking, it astonishes me. My daughter's in year 7 and they made a fruit salad and they made fajitas, which they brought home to cook. So they basically just put chicken and sauce in a wrap, wrapped it up, covered it in cheese, and then brought it home and cooked it. It's an absolute shambles, considering that everybody needs to cook every day to eat to survive. It's a basic life skill that you need to live. So why, I haven't used algebra personally since school. I don't know how many people have had to triangulate the circumference of a square. I've never had to do any of those things since leaving. But cooking, I have to do that every single day for myself, for my children. So why our children are not being taught these things, I don't understand.
It is madness. When you say it like that, it is madness. It is.
Generational.
Because, and also the things, that we were saying about money, finances, paying rent, mortgages. I know they touch on these.
They stay away from that. It's so hard to learn how to open your own business. They don't even tell you that's a possibility in school. They tell you to work for someone. What job do you want? Who do you want to work for?
Yeah.
Why are you not saying you can make money yourself? Why are you going through school as well?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
They make mortgages unreachable for people of a certain age, like young adults that are starting out. They make it impossible. Really, these things, like, you should be taught about mortgages at school and taught that it would be better to save up, stay at home if you can, stay where you are, save up until you can get a mortgage rather than move out and start paying rent. And then you're paying for somebody else's mortgage, rather than owning something yourself. These things, people should be educated on this at school. I didn't know what a mortgage was when I left school. I didn't know what it was until my parents started paying for one.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. It's just an impossible situation. I don't know what it is. I think it will change. I've said before, I think generations are the one the cure to this, because it is going very left in the sense of the generation come out of school now and very awareness of it. It's just going to take time. They're not going to. It's a big change, isn't it? What we're saying is a huge change, and I don't think in England they don't even like doing stuff like that. But change in England doesn't happen. It's like we're like autistic already.
Yeah.
So let alone doing something so extreme, because people like the Conservatives go up there. No, oh my God, you don't do that.
It'll take time, and it'll have to be done. Things will have to be done slowly. Can't just snap our fingers and make all these changes overnight. But things should be looked at and things should be prioritised. The system of diagnosing people and everybody waiting for the same services, I think that's the first thing that needs to be looked at by the powers that be. I think it really needs to be reassessed, and there needs to be some kind of triage put in place for these conditions, so we're not all waiting for 12, 18 months for these different services. There's that young boy, it was a news story, it was on the news this week. He couldn't stay at home with his parents. He was high level ASD. He was placed in an establishment to help him. When he was originally placed in there was a plan put in place for him where he would see his parents, he would go bike riding with his dad, he would do all these different activities that were fun for him. And because of funding, when his special person left the hospital, because of funding, all these things were taken away. And he was actually on the news because he'd only he's 5 years old and he's got severe ASD, and he's only been let out of his room an hour a day because they can't staff it and they can't fund it. And that was a story I saw on our news this week.
Honestly, I could literally.
There's so many.
So much. No, there was a young person that I used to teach, and he died a few years ago, and he was only 25. And you think, why haven't I heard about this? Why, if a neurotypical 25-year-old had been banging their head whilst in a room that they were kept in and died, wouldn't that be on the news? Wouldn't that be? Why is it okay? Why aren't people that are neurodivergent, that have different learning difficulties, why aren't they treated with the same compassion, respect and understanding and basic human rights? Like you just said, a little boy of 5. Oh my God.
5 years old, the same age as my daughter, which is why it hit home and stuck in my head. And then you've got Oliver McGowan. You've got the Oliver McGowan training course that they're sending NHS staff on now. Why are they not sending our teachers on this? Why are they not sending local SENCO? Why are they not sending everybody that works with special needs on this Oliver McGowan course?
Registered managers and adult services, you do have to. It's a mandatory training. They put that in
should.
when I was there. The last 2 years I was in there, they put that as a mandatory for everybody to do across the board. So that's at least making a movement.
I question our school, my personal school, and circumstances and the qualifications of people there, because I know for a fact none of them have done the Oliver McGowan training course, and they should have. And I'm asking why.
Yeah.
It's a requirement, isn't it? When it's conducted, like health and safety, you don't even take it seriously. You take it as
everybody needs to.
Yeah.
Even parents, it should be opened up for parents if they want to. Not mandatory, but you should be able to attend if you want to hear the stories. You meet incredible people there. I guess depending where you are in the country would depend on who come, but our personal Oliver McGowan training course in Shropshire, some incredible gentlemen joined and their stories were amazing to listen to.
No, this hopefully what we're doing, trying to bring that training sort of around to schools that's in a neutral way. I think the hardest job we're going to have is bringing the two sides together, parents and teachers, and bringing the understanding. And even
we all need to work together.
Understand. But at the end of the day, everyone is human. And the thing is that they need to understand schools is we're never going to stop fighting. We can't because it's our child. So they need to back down. They need to be the ones that have the understanding and do it if they want to. If they're going to keep meeting it, they're going to go through hell because we can't not fight for our children. It's our children. You're not to.
But like you say, it's about working together.
Yeah, but it's about bringing
and it's about putting I can't stand tick boxes or when people take
it's very generic. One size fits all. And the children don't fit into these boxes.
No, they don't at all. They don't at all.
I'm sure it's like you went into a school, went into like a parent's, went to school, went to a parent, you went to all the parents, and then described to the parents the statistics of how many people in that class are going to be thingy. Even slight little things like that might, when the teachers go by, maybe what the thing is, what people do is they fight for everything, when realistically you need to only fight for one or two things majority, and then they get angry at everything, and then they end up just getting really frustrated with the schools. Everything's a competition, everything's a shout or shout out.
Everything's a fight.
Yeah. But really, as I said, it's a horrible minefield because at the end of the day, you can't. It's not parents' fault, and it won't be because you can't. The situation is you're going to fight for your child, no matter what that means.
Yeah. All we want is our children to be included, being told you can't attend a full school trip because you have special needs. Even if I was to attend, I offered to sit on the bus and walk round the entire zoo, but I was told no. You're not allowed. We can't get health and safety clearance to take her on the coach. This child has been on the coach from Shropshire to Somerset and back every year of her life. She's done the coach. She's done trains. She travels. She's been to different places. And I know she can manage it. And they were like, no, she can't manage it because she becomes dysregulated. Only in your care.
And honestly, Maddie, it's infuriating. And I think it just really demonstrates the lack of understanding, training,
and then
compassion. Because not all schools are like this, and not all.
Some are trying, some are really trying.
I definitely think in your case, and I've said this from the get-go. I don't use words like discrimination very frequently. She says it all the time. You say it all the time. But I see things in very black and white, and not always grey, because that's just how my brain works. And she's not been treated not been treated fairly.
She's not more than funding.
Even when it comes down to little things like non-school uniform day and World Book Day, I wasn't ever told, bring her in a costume today, or we're doing this. They had a Christmas party. She wasn't included. I didn't even know there was a Christmas party that went on in reception because she wasn't invited, included, or there was no mention of it. She did nothing for Christmas. She sat with Santa. That when Santa went in, the Santa was absolutely amazing, and he did make time to sit with her, and I got a lovely picture. But that was it. That was as far as her Christmas activities at school went. She wasn't invited to anything else, wasn't included in anything else. I sent her in dressed up on World Book Day because I have other children and I knew it was World Book Day, so I took her in anyway. But it wasn't mentioned. Nothing was ever mentioned for her. Nothing's ever, she would like this today. Do you want to bring her in for this, when they've done extra activities for the children? There's been none of that. And I'm happy to meet you halfway. I'm happy to come in and support where teachers can't. And I understand if they can't meet need, but they didn't have to be so nasty about it.
No, and do you know what, Maddie? We take our hats off to you because, you know, you and I chat a lot. Just honestly, I think it's fortunate that you've got people you can talk to. You know, you've got a small circle, haven't you, of friends and family and
Yeah.
people that can help.
I've got some really great professionals and yourselves, and luckily my health visitor, my OT, they're all amazing. I had early help. She was incredible. And these people that I've worked with have been fantastic in pushing things forward. But it's bad that as a parent with these services, school and everything else included, as a parent, you have the smallest voice. We look after these children and we know these children inside out. So when we're phoning and saying these children need this support, we should be taken more seriously, but we're not. But as soon as I get somebody from early help to phone up and say exactly the same thing, oh, it's done then. It's been a couple of weeks. Before early help, I didn't have an OT. I hadn't had an assessment on my house. The HCP was going nowhere. Nothing was happening. She come in within 6 months. I had all of these things in place, all of this support. Though it hasn't really opened many doors and we've still been met with a lot of waiting lists, I'm closer now than I have been in this entire process. So, and it is tough, but there's got to be people out there that are in the same situation as me that don't know where to turn, and that's why we're here. I just want people to know that there are other people out there going through the same, and there are ways of coming through this.
I feel like I'm really nervous about Calvin going to school, and this is something like I'm trying to say out loud now. And if she watches it, then she's going to find out what's going to happen. But I decided that if he gets to year 7 and he struggles, I'm just pulling him out. I'm not playing the game. It's too long, and it's too much time for him to be struggling, going backwards in there, getting into social things there. And that's sad to even think that I am going to have the option just if they, and it's not the ADHD. I'll let him in there. It's autism. If he goes in there, it's overwhelming. If it starts, struggling, falling behind, I know that the fight's lost. Like, there's no point me sitting there for 5 years.
Done a full 360.
What?
Since we've been doing these podcasts, I'm sure that you have done a full 360.
About what?
About pulling Calvin out of school.
Yeah, I didn't. I said I had done that half time, didn't I? You realised the effect of it. I saw it before as a client.
He worries about it. The more you hear about these schools, the more he's worrying about it. I can see it, and I get it. My eldest is 7, and I haven't got the time to pull her out and homeschool her with everything else that I do in a day, unfortunately. But I've been thinking the same. Luckily with her, I have been met with, I don't know what your school's like, Nate, but with her, she's been able to access the hub. And they've done that fantastically for her, and that has helped. That means that she doesn't always have to go to all of her lessons. If she finds it overwhelming, she can go to the hub where there's other children with similar conditions like ADHD. They do painting, cooking. The teachers in there are fantastic. This is what I mean with SENCO departments. The teacher at my daughter's school is feeding me information and helping me and giving me the information that my youngest daughter's school should be giving me. So,
and again,
it's
down to
mad.
staff, isn't it? And people and connection and communication and understanding and acceptance. And that's human qualities that we should all have. And it's just a shame that when you come across.
Crazy, because in that same school, my son attends the same school, the nursery there, and they couldn't be any better. The teachers in there are incredible. They're lovely. His tutor's lovely. They've helped him. He was almost potty trained and now he's fully potty trained. And that was with their support, and they're fantastic there. But the special education needs department in the same school is failing miserably. I don't understand. And people in the school don't have conversations with each other.
Yeah, but it's not just about that. You know, we're just talking. It's also just about individual people. Not everybody is good at their job. Not everybody comes into it with the same mindset.
75% of them, 80% are not good at their job.
But
Well, this needs to be looked at. People need to go back to training and reassess the thing.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Yeah, and also employing the right people for the right jobs, because we're not all able to do everything. You know, we're all have different skill sets and different abilities, and just because you want to do a certain job, it doesn't mean you're going to be good at it.
Let's be realistic. The professionals that should be working there, the people who have the conditions, they're not going to be working there because either their conditions have gotten away with it or their kids have gotten away with it because they're fighting for their kids. So, and they haven't had time to go to uni, haven't got time to get a professional background. So the very rare you're going to get a teacher who's got ADHD or autism is very, very rare. Like, so even again from the inside, infiltrating autism.
We met a lovely lady the other day who's the manager of the special educational needs at the school.
Well, that's why she's a manager, isn't she?
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly.
Only just come out. It sounds like, look, that's the point. Come out as having autism. Is it coming out?
It's hard for people when people believe that if you have ADHD, if you have autism, that you can't get certain jobs. There's a lady that works on our local district nursing team. She is a young lady. She has ADHD and she has autism, and she joined the district nursing team, and they've been great, but nothing specific has been put into place. My mum works with this lady, and my mum obviously understands autism and understands ASD because of her grandchildren and because of living with it. And this young lady got paired with my mum, and my mum turned around to her when she explained, and she was like, so how can I help you then, love? What can make things easier for you? Do you struggle with loud noises? Do you struggle with this? Are you sensory? What kind of things would help you while you're out on the district with me seeing patients? How can I make that easier for you with your conditions? And this young lady actually almost broke down in the car and said, that's the first time in my life anyone's ever asked me that.
Yeah.
The first time in my life anyone's ever took my conditions into consideration and gone, oh, well, what can I do to help? Yes, when she joined, they said things, but not as an individual. And the only reason my mum knew to do that is because of her personal experiences, which is why I believe that this awareness and campaigning for awareness is so important, because people that don't live with it need to know these things too.
Yeah, 100%.
We do need to rein it on the ADHD front a bit, in the sense of how problematic and it's, again, what's happening is I feel like it's getting tied into autism, and it's getting autism and ADHD.
It's all getting...
It's not the same.
Yeah, and ADHD is different. It needs to be triaged separately.
It's like saying black and Indians together. It's just like, are they close?
No,
it's completely different cultures. Like, do you know what I mean? It's completely different.
But when we did the podcast with Natalie from Dyslexia, and she explained dyslexia as it comes with a friend. So a lot of these neurodivergent conditions aren't isolated. You don't just have one.
Yeah, but they're marginally that's a condition. They're three conditions.
I'm just saying as well, it's about sometimes a neurodivergent brain. You might not get everything diagnosed, because getting a bloody diagnosis is
it's tough. It's why I think my paediatrician, again, my daughter's paediatrician, is incredible, because instead of just doing me a closed ASD diagnosis, she's done me, and a lot of professionals can do this, she's done what's called a working diagnosis. So that is a formal diagnosis for ASD, but it is still working, because we could still be adding on different things, like when she went for her SOGS review and she got a developmental delay. That's then been added on. Her sensory processing disorder, that she's a seeker, that's then added on. So instead of just having a closed diagnosis for ASD, she actually has a working diagnosis for autism and these other diagnoses as well. So if all paediatricians did that, that would make things so much easier for people, because you can just add on to a working diagnosis.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Honestly, Maddie, you've been amazing. You've been absolutely amazing. And I know, that it has been a tough journey and continues to be a tough journey. And you still are smiling.
Yeah,
and you're still, advocating for your children, and you're doing this with very little sleep and very little,
2 hours, 3 hours some nights, and a few Red Bull.
Oh my God. And but there are good days and there are good moments, and your kids are amazing and they're very lucky to have you.
But you do get there, and you have to celebrate the small wins. Now I'm at a point where I've sent out free consults to 3 different specialist establishments, and I've got 2 responses back saying they can meet need. So now it looks like when it goes to panel, I will be able to put in parental preference and ultimately choose which one, which is incredible considering all I've been told is no, all the way through. No, we can't. No, we won't. No, this can't happen without that. This is the first time I've been to places where they've gone, yes, we can.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I think it's good to end on that, because it's a hard journey, and not everybody's journey. And we sometimes feel like we're not ever going to get anywhere. But you do
it's
amazing.
lonely and it's tough. And to anyone in that situation, please reach out to these guys or to me.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, and that's why we set up this community, isn't it? So that we live nowhere near each other. We live
miles and miles away, and now we've got people all over the map.
I did a map, and our geography was quite shocking, but we're all over the country, aren't we? And how
we are. We've got people everywhere. It's fantastic, and that's what we need. And if together we can raise a bit of awareness and just be a backbone for people out there struggling, and be somewhere that people can turn to until the services are eventually put in place.
Yeah, and just feel you've got someone to talk to. You're not isolated. You're not alone, and that there are other people
through this. Yeah, the same thing, the same struggles on no sleep, kids breaking everything, these kids climbing, being super strong. I get it all. It's really tough, and then having to fight the systems on top. So no, celebrate the small wins, and hopefully come September she will have a specialist placement and she won't even need to return back to that school.
That'll be amazing. Can you imagine? What are you going to do with yourself when your kids are in school? And it's more than an hour.
Do a lot more things for you guys. I'll be able to help, and I'll be able to start making my stuff again. So you'll see more of me.
I'll push for this school, definitely. I'll take her there myself. Listen, thank you so much, Maddie.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll think again soon.
Thank you both soon. Bye.